Good day, everyone. This is Cheryl A. Lavilla, and today I'm going to discuss Chapter 18, which is Organizational Life Cycles and Design. So, what is organizational life cycle? It is the life cycle of an organization from its creation to its termination. What is life cycle? Life cycle is the useful life of a product or system, the developmental history of an individual, group, or entity. Then we have organizational life cycle theory. It is concerned with organizational development in terms of internal resources, finance, firm size, structure, management priorities, and the scope of business network. Next, we have organizational life cycle stages. First, we have inception, which is viewed as the beginning stage of the organizational life cycles. Firms at this stage are young, smaller, unstructured, flexible, and informal. Their primary objective is to secure necessary resources, build business networks, and launch the basic operations to ensure sustainability. Coordination among staff is weak since the internal structure of the firm is insufficiently developed to support the teamwork function. Next is high growth. This stage is a sign of business success after overcoming the difficulties of founding a productive firm. A major characteristic is the significance of the overall coordination change in employees, where work processes become moderately formal, systematic, and dependent. The firm size increases rapidly as more trained professionals, managers are hired to help share the leadership role in managing the increased complexity of the firm. Third, we have maturity. The maturity stage arrives when the firm possesses a formal organizational structure supported by established office systems, regulations, and work documentation that lead to norms and routines of practices. Peer coordination for work is common both inside and outside of the company. Being more hierarchical, resourceful, and bureaucratic in nature, firms at this stage enjoy an internal operation which is stable, efficient, and decentralized. The fourth stage is decline. Organizational decline occurs when companies don't anticipate, recognize, neutralize, or manage to adapt to the internal or external pressures that threaten their survival. An organization enters the decline phase when it experiences continuous reduction in resources and revenue over a substantial period of time. The contingency approach to organization design. The contingency approach is a management theory that suggests that there is no best way to organize a corporation, to lead a company, or to make decisions. Instead, the optimal course of action is contingent or dependent upon the context of the situation, and that adopting a single, rigid style is inefficient in the long term. Fred Fiedler is of Austrian descent and the founder of the contingency theory that shows the relationship between leadership, effectiveness, and situational circumstances. 5 approaches to organizational design. Managers must make choices about how to group people together to perform their work. 5 common approaches: functional, divisional, matrix, theme, and networking help managers determine departmental groupings or groupings of position into departments. First, we have functional structure. The functional structure groups positions into work units based on similar activities, skills, expertise, and resources. Production, marketing, finance, and human resources are common groupings within a functional structure. As the simplest approach, a functional structure features well defined channels of communication and authority responsibility relationships. Not only can this structure improve productivity by minimizing duplication of personnel and equipment, but it also makes employees comfortable and simplifies training as well. Second, we have divisional structure. Because managers in large companies may have difficulty keeping track of all their company's products and activities, specialized departments may develop. These departments are divided according to their organizational outputs. Examples include departments created to distinguish among production, customer service, and geographical categories. This grouping of departments is called divisional structure. These departments allow managers to better focus the resources and results. Divisional structures also makes performance easier to monitor. As a result, this structure is flexible and responsive to change. Third is matrix structure. The matrix structure combines functional specialization with the focus of divisional structure. This structure uses permanent cross-functional themes to integrate functional expertise with a divisional focus. Employees in matrix structure belong to at least two formal groups at the same time, a functional group and a product, program, or project team. They also report to two bosses, one with a functional group and the other within the team. This structure not only increases employee motivation, but it also allows technical and general management training across functional areas as well. Is team structure. Team structure organizes separate functions into a group based on one overall objective. These cross functional teams are composed of members from different departments who work together as needed to solve problems and explore opportunities. The intent is to break down functional barriers among departments and create a more effective relationship for solving ongoing problems. Fifth is network structure. The network structure relies on other organizations to perform critical functions on a contractual basis. In other words, managers can contract out specific work to specialists. This approach provides flexibility and reduces overhead because the size of staff and operations can be reduced. On the other hand, the network structure may result in unpredictability of supply and lack of control because managers are relying on contractual workers to perform important work. Assessing environmental uncertainty. So, what is environmental uncertainty? Environmental uncertainty is defined as the shortage of information on the events and actions taking place in the business environment and or the impossibility of predicting external changes and their impact on organizational decisions. It also refers to how predictable environmental conditions are. In an uncertain environment, it is very difficult for managers to predict where and how change will occur. Four-way classification of organizational environment by Robert Duncan. Who is Robert Duncan? Robert Duncan is currently Professor Emeritus of Management and Organization, Kellogg School of Management, Northwestern University, where he currently teaches in the Executive MBA program. He is the author of numerous journal and articles in two books, Innovations in Organizations and Strategies for Planned Change. What is organizational environment? Organizational environment are composed of forces or institutions surrounding an organization that affect performance, operations, and resources. It includes elements that exist outside of the organization's boundaries and have the potential to affect a portion or of all the organization. Scholars have divided environmental factors into two parts: internal and external environments. Internal environment is composed of the elements within the organization, including current employees, management, and especially corporate culture, which defines employee behavior. External environment refers to the forces and institutions outside organization that potentially affect its performance. External environment has two layers. We have general environment and task environment. General environment refers to the non-specific elements of an organization's surroundings that might affect the organization indirectly. These external forces are political, economic, technological, and socio-cultural. While task environment is inclusive of those outside sectors that have a direct working relationship with an organization. Differentiation and integration, the Lawrence and Lurch study. Who is Lawrence? Paul R. Lawrence was born on April 26, 1922 and died last November 1, 2011, was an American sociologist, professor of organization behavior at the Harvard Business School, and consultant. He was known from his book with the J.W. Lurch on differentiation and integration in complex organizations. Who is J.W. Lurch? J. Lurch was born in 1932, is an American organizational theorist and the Louis Kirstein Professor of Human Relations at the Harvard Business School, known for his contribution of contingency theory to the field of organizational behavior. Differentiation and integration. They define differentiation as the state of segmentation of the organizational systems into subsystems, each of which tends to develop particular attributes in relation to the requirements posed by its relevant external environment. They also define integration as the process of achieving unity of effort among the various subsystems in the accomplishment of the organization's task. Lawrence and Lurch develop an open systems theory of how organizations and organizational subunits adapt to best meet the demands of their immediate environment. They did the research in the chemical processing industry, which was going through rapid product changes and improvements. They also got all their data from interviewees with top executives at each company. Mechanistic versus organic organization. According to Block's Law Dictionary, mechanistic organization is hierarchical and bureaucratic. It is characterized by its highly centralized authority, formalized procedures and practices, and specialized functions. Mechanistic organization is relatively easier and simpler to organize, but rapid change is very challenging. While according to businessdictionary.com, organic organization is characterized by its flatness, communications and interactions are horizontal, low specialization, knowledge resides wherever it is most useful, and decentralization, great deal of formal and informal participation in decision making. Centralized versus decentralized decision making. Centralization is the degree to which decision-making authority is concentrated at higher levels in an organization. In centralized companies, many important decisions are made at higher levels of the hierarchy, whereas in decentralized companies, decisions are made and problems are solved at lower levels by employees who are closer to the problem in question. As an employee, where would you feel more comfortable and productive? If your answer is decentralized, you are not alone. Decentralized companies give more authority to lower level employees, resulting in a sense of empowerment. Decisions can be made more quickly, and employees often believe that decentralized companies provide greater levels of procedural fairness to employees. Job candidates are more likely to be attracted to decentralized organizations
because centralized organizations assign decision making responsibility to higher level managers. They place greater demands on the judgment capabilities of CEOs and other high level managers. Many companies find that the centralization of operations leads to inefficiencies in decision making. For example, in the 1980s, the industrial equipment manufacturer Caterpillar suffered the consequences of centralized decision making. Three important contingency variables: technology, size, and strategic choice. The impact of technology on structure. In this lesson, I will discuss how technology has changed the face of the workplace, including a focus on two specific points of interest: automation and information technology. First, let's talk about some of the broad ways that technology has impacted the workforce. Technology has a number of different impacts on the organizations. For one thing, it can impact the structure of an organization. This means introducing new technologies to employees through training. Often, this requires that more information technology professionals are added to a workplace. Organizational size and performance. Larger organizations tended to be more productive. There were no positive relationships between organizational size and efficiency, suggesting the absence of net economy of scale effects. There were zero to slightly negative relationships between subunit size and productivity and efficiency. Strategic choice and organizational structure. What is strategic choice? It describes the role that leaders or leading groups play in influencing an organization through making choices in a dynamic political process. A strategic choice must lead to a clear assessment alternative, which is the most suitable alternative under the existing conditions. What is organizational structure? Organizational structure is a system used to define a hierarchy within an organization. It identifies each job, its function, and where it reports to within the organization. This structure is developed to establish how an organization operates and assist an organization in obtaining its goals to allow for future growth. Alternative organization design and configurations. What is organization design? It is a process of shaping the way organizations are structured and run. It involves many different aspects of life at work, including team functions, shift patterns, lines of reporting, decision making procedures, communication channels, and more. How about organizational configurations? It can be defined as commonly occurring clusters of attributes of organizational strategies, structures, and processes. The first alternative organizational design is matrices, which emerged in the 1970s and featured the flexibility of multidisciplinary teams that purportedly enabled multiple project, program, and product management. It changed unity of the command into dual chain of command and facilitated efficient allocation of specialists while maximizing economies of the scale. Second, we have multidimensional design, which refers to organizations that share products, regions, and customers but not employees. The customer based approach allows multidimensional organizations to eliminate information asymmetries and transfer pricing. While this approach is based on the sound business principle of giving customers what they want, it is not clear to what the multidimensional design looks like. They stated that it is based on design principles that facilitate the creation of synergies across units to serve increasingly fragmented markets, yet they offer no illustration to save an allusion to a network. An example of these are IBM, Microsoft, and PricewaterhouseCoopers. Third,
we have inverted pyramid. In the 1980s, legendary Swedish CEO Jan Carlson acknowledged the importance of his customers, airline passengers at Scandinavian Air Systems, prominently placed them on top of his radical organization redesign, which called the inverted pyramid. This changed the role of the supervisor to support the line staff. It also changed the role of the executive team to be one of the support to the manager. Fourth, we have concentric circle. The concentric circle design consists of three circles, although similar arcade, that Simcoe has no official structure. So the CEO of Maverick, Ricardo Simler, created this fourth organizational design model. The concentric circle is a democratic approach and a new architecture for organizations that is based on much more freedom and flexibility, making employees want to go to work on Monday morning. Network are a return to decentralization and feature self-managing teams connected by nodes. In organizations, nodes are the places where people connect with goals. They are fast-forming, inclusive, easy to enter and leave, hyper-connected, and ubiquitous. Networks also replace hierarchy with heterarchy. Mentzberg typology was divided into five. We have simple structure, machine bureaucracy, professional bureaucracy, divisionalized form, and adhocracy. Who is Mentzberg? Henry Mentzberg is a Canadian renowned management theorist who developed a list of five basic organizational types. He identified the various organizations as a result of their blend of strategy, environmental forces, and the organizational structure. According to Mentzberg's book, The Structuring of Organizations, an organization's structure emerges from the interplay of the organization's strategy, the environmental forces it experiences, and the organizational structure itself. Mentzberg organizational types. The entrepreneurial organization, which is widely known as simple structure. This type of organization has simple, flat structure. It consists of one large unit with one or a few top managers. This organization is relatively unstructured and informal compared with other types of organization. The lack of standardized systems allows the organization to be flexible. A young company that's tightly controlled by the owner is the most common example of this type of organization. Second, we have machine bureaucracy. The machine organization is defined by its standardization. Work is much formalized. There are many routines and procedures. Decision making is centralized, and tasks are grouped by functional departments. The machine organization is a tight vertical structure. Functional lines go all the way to the top, allowing top managers to maintain centralized control. This organization can be very efficient and they rely heavily on the economies of scale for their success. Third, we have professional bureaucracy. According to Mentzberg, the professional organization is also very bureaucratic. The key difference between these and the machine organizations are that professional organizations rely on highly trained professionals who demand control of their own work. So while there's a high degree of specialization, decision making is decentralized. This structure is typical when the organization contains a large number of knowledge workers, and it's why it's common in places like school and universities, and in accounting and law firms. Fourth is divisional organization. If an organization has many different product lines and business units, you will typically see a divisional structure in place. A central headquarters supports a number of autonomous divisions that make their own decisions and have their own unique structures. You will often see this type of structure in large and mature organizations that have a variety of brands, produce a wide range of products, or operate in different geographical regions. Any of these can form the basis of an autonomous division. The fifth organizational types are the innovative organization, which is widely known as adhocracy. So, in new industries, companies need to innovate and function on an ad hoc basis to survive. Filmmaking, consulting, and pharmaceuticals are project based industries that often use this structure. Decisions are decentralized and power is delegated to wherever it's needed. The clear advantage of adhocracies is that they maintain a central pool of talent from which people can be drawn at any time to solve problems and work in a highly flexible way. Matrix organization. A matrix organization is defined as one in which there is a dual or multiple managerial accountability and responsibility. In matrix, there are usually two chains of command, one along functional lines and the other along project, product, or client lines. The matrix organizational form may vary from one in which the project manager holds a very strong managerial position to one in which he plays only a coordinating role. That ends our discussion for today. Thank you and God bless. Keep safe, everyone.